Why would they do this? Well, now they want to use ISIS, and just look at this perspective, as an excuse in order to attack radical extreme ideologies of all sorts in America. They are getting ready to launch an attack to Homeland Security. They're getting ready. The FBI, CIA, all the groups, they're getting ready to launch an attack. But they need a terrorist act. They need this type of fear of these beheadings in order to justify the strongholds that they're about to put on the rights and the freedoms and the liberties of American people. They're getting prepared. This is another one of their schemes to create fear. Come now and add restraint and impose their martial law on the people. They're getting ready now. They're going to use this now because they're saying that this ISIS thing is invisible. You know, they don't really have a territory. It's a large network all over the world. There are people from America that are involved in it. A lot of Americans are participating in it. So it doesn't really have any boundaries, which means that they don't need to have any boundaries in their pursuit of it. That they don't have any boundaries to pursue it. So that means they get to topple over all rights, freedoms, and liberties in pursuit of the unpursuitable. So this is what they're preparing for. They want to now manifest more power in America over American citizens. They're not interested in what's going on in Syria for real. Obama's not really interested in what's going on in Iraq. He's interested in the loss of power that has manifested in the United States of America. They have lost power, the federal government particularly, and that's his real interest, and he must use ISIS. He must use the Muslim Brotherhood that he's so affiliated with. They put up these terrorists. These terrorists are their employees. You know, they're ex-CIA agents. They're trained by them. They give them the guns. So now he has to use his friends, his associates, in order to create a big enough scare for them to once again try to regain control over a matrix that has collapsed in America. Let me touch on that. How has the matrix collapsed in America? We see Ferguson. We look at Ferguson particularly from a perspective of racism. We're looking at the racial implications of what happened with the murder of Mike Brown in St. Louis County in Missouri. We don't see the military formation of a county that has gained the military power. They have gained the military power of a sovereign country when we see tanks and armed soldiers and tactical military units on the streets, on the American streets. We saw this same type of mobilization in West Palm Beach, Florida, not too long ago. These counties and governments in America, looking at Clyde Bundy, they are becoming more powerful than the federal government and closer towards manifesting their own separation. They are ready for civil warfare. The whole issue about gun rights and the federal government trying to take away gun rights from the citizen is trying to disarm these new radical independent government entities and agencies from gaining power and momentum in order to create their independence from the United States. I want to tell you, the United States is not that united no more. Follow me with this. While you all are distracted by racism, the United States is not united. That army in St. Louis County that we call the police was ready to fight against anybody in order to protect that officer. They was able to go beyond the protocol. They was able to make the calls independently and not even revealing his name and protecting him from the federal government, from the citizens of America. They was willing to protect him against any and all. These counties want the sovereignty of a sovereign nation. The micro white supremacy is going up against the macro white supremacy. The macro white supremacy is United States imperialism in and of itself, is the system of white supremacy. The American justice system is macro white supremacy. But micro white supremacy is your Clyde Bundys, is your crackers in this and that county that want power, that has an unquenchable thirst for power. They don't want to just be the sheriff. They don't want to just be some head of some county. They want the ultimate and highest level of political power. Their desire for power will not cease. So they get as many guns and as many weapons as they can to prepare for a civil war so that the federal government do not have the power to impede or take away their rights, because they want the right to fight whoever they can whenever they need to. Now, Brother Black Son made a powerful point today. He said that it's the army, the military, that's giving these counties and these states and cities the weaponry. So why would they fear them if they are giving them the weaponry? Well, what you got to realize is they have given weaponry to their enemies. That's how the enemies became their enemies, because they gave them the weapons to do it. Because they turn on them, they try to use weapons to bribe them, but those whom they give weapons to become so big-headed that they become power-hungry, and they no longer are interested in being under the jurisdiction or the rule of the greater power. So just because they got those weapons from the military doesn't mean they have loyalty or integrity to the military, because the same military that gave it to them is the same one that's willing to enforce gun laws that would take away from their gun rights if necessary. That's a fact. So they don't want to lose their guns. They don't want to lose their power that they're building in order to wage the civil war that they've always been planning to separate from the United States. Obama couldn't be interested in what is going on in ISIS, what is going on in ISIS with Al-Qaeda or going on in Syria, when in America there's a split-off that is happening. That he faced homegrown terrorism and radical extremist ideas are on the brink, and not because of Islamic extremists and Sharia law. I'm talking about white supremacy extremists. I'm talking about crackers that are power hungry, that no longer want to be under the United States. This started at the point that Obama got into office, when Congress itself said, fuck that nigger. We're not going to support him. We're going to make it difficult for him. They disunified with Obama. And he went from being the executive officer of the United States of America to being basically a protester. Protesting against his own officers, his own fellow politicians and office holders to cooperate with him in order for him to make change and to implement Obamacare in the United States. They didn't want to support him. That's why we had a government lockdown, shutdown. So there was a separation as soon as they let a nigger get in office. People said anything can happen now through the United States of America. Our white supremacy is not secure anymore. They will let a nigger rule over us. We need to establish our own military power so that we will no longer have to submit to what the decisions that are made by the United States. We want to make our own decision as our own state. So they had already had a problem being united. They already wanted their own sovereignty, and then you had nerve enough to let a nigger become president? Hell no, they're not following him. And they're ready to fight against the executive orders that are passed down from him so that they can maintain their own rule of power and build up their own government as they see fit. Black people have been used as a political football in this situation. The racism situation, which was orchestrated by the government itself. Gang leaders came out, look it up, YouTube, Google, and they said that Eric Holder paid them to protest and to loot. This is a fact. that he paid them. Why would Eric Holder, representative of Obama, sent to Ferguson? Why would he have to pay looters in order to protest? Why? Because they needed to create an upheaval, stabilize St. Louis County, Missouri, so that they could reinstitute national security interests. And what could they use in order to make this happen? Racism. They had to use racism as a tool to destabilize the government. So once it's destabilized, they could reestablish power. This is a fact. They sent the National Guard in to protect national interests. But we couldn't tell the difference between the National Guard and the police. They look the exact same opposite. Why do you need the National Guard if the police look like the National Guard? So they sent Eric Holder down there because they could not send an executive order that would have been respected.
I've got an idea.
Because St. Louis County wanted to do whatever the hell it is that they wanted to do, irregardless. And they was prepared militarily. They didn't need all those weapons and tanks for black people looting and running in the streets. We've dealt with this type of mayhem before in America. And that was one of the smallest lootings, riots, or even protests that I've seen in regarding to a situation. As a matter of fact, the mobilization in Atlanta was larger than the mobilization in Ferguson in regards to Mike Brown's death. And the mobilization in Los Angeles may have been a larger mobilization. So why did they need tanks and guns and soldiers for such a small group of people as the protest was dwindling down, as we saw? What were they trying to protect? You don't need tanks and all those police officers for what I could count was 50 to 100 people standing in the streets. Why did they attack the media? Why did they want to not even have the media involved in what was going on in St. Louis County? Why would they attack the media? They wanted everybody out. They wanted sovereignty. They didn't even want the media. They attacked international media, dealing with Al Jazeera. They felt that they was bigger than the world, bigger than America, even bigger than the media. And they wanted to execute complete and absolute control over their state and their county. And of course, ultimately, with this type of control executed, that they would implement racism. We know that, but that's secular to the fact that they even want to overthrow the larger government for their own agendas and their own motives in order to rule their own governments. So Obama had to do something. They had to create something. So many killings happened of youth being shot down in the streets. Why was Michael Brown so relevant, and how did his death become so relevant? Did it have anything to do with that his death happened in a very resistant and rebellious county, the infrastructure of the United States? Was that the perfect opportunity for them to start acting against these militarizing white governments? Was that the perfect situation? Are they interested in black people being killed anywhere where it does not represent an opportunity to address an even greater threat, which is them building a momentum to create an effective civil war? That's one major reason why the Mike Brown murder was so important, and that the murder in LA didn't get that type of attention. Eric Garner killed in Staten Island didn't really get that attention, even though he was killed in an even more highly populated place. Let's look at the facts. Let's look at what's really going on here. They mobilized on that because they are at war. America within itself is at war. It has nothing to do with ISIS. America is splintering off into many different white supremacist groups, many different Clyde Bundy groups, many different counties and municipalities. They've said fuck Obama, fuck the president, and by default, They're saying fuck the United States, fuck the integrity of the federal government. By default, this is what they're saying. And they're getting to a point where they're becoming a real security interest. And there are all type of extremist ideas that if you look back at the Patriot Act and look at how they define a terrorist, and they said someone who really believes strongly in the Constitution, someone with Christian fundamental ideas. This doesn't just mean black radical groups or black power groups or Islamic extremist groups. There were definitions of terrorists that dealt with regular crackers that just believe in the Constitution and believe in the Bible and Christian fundamental ideas. They're considered terrorists. Preppers, building their own self-sufficiency, their own farmland, stockpiling their own food, they're considered terrorists because they are gaining power and momentum against the cohesive forces of the United States of America. So let me take that into what's going on with ISIS. Why ISIS? How does ISIS fit into this invisible, omnipresent, omnipotent Arab threat that's really no more sophisticated or no more powerful than any other groups before them? But what makes them such a threat? Well, this is our perfect opportunity to stage the ultimate terror, justify the implementation of American lockdown USA. That now they can use all of their forces under the auspices of internal security to stomp out homegrown terrorism, or just the type of American Christian fundamentalism that is anti-government cohesion. Now they can stomp all that out. They can go at the black power groups, the black militant groups. They can go at everybody and connect them with ISIS, this omnipotent, invisible, omnipresent force that they have to crack down on. We can't find them. We don't know where they are. We don't know where they're located. They're in America. Americans have joined them. Now they can dare declare war on America itself, declare war on the Americans, taking passports. They can now declare war on the citizens of America in order to maintain a government that has already died, that has already collapsed. This ISIS is the perfect threat. Obama is procrastinating in coming up with a strategy or methodology in order to deal with ISIS. Why is he procrastinating? Because the longer that this goes on, the more fear is being created in America. The type of fear that can support their efforts to create cohesion in America through military force and military implementation under the auspices of security. Let these beheadings go by. Let the fear keep rising. Let people keep getting more and more scared so we can justify the tyrant tyranny and the acts of despotism that we're about to implement. We can justify that. Let the fear keep building up. Let the drama continue. Where's the body of these journalists at? Show us something real. Show us something that exists. No, they're beheaded somewhere in the middle of some goddamn desert in HD. And crackers are scared. Crackers are sitting in front of high digital editing equipment all goddamn day long. And they don't raise one question about the authenticity of these beheadings. This is fear-mongering on the highest level. And you are going to experience in the coming of these days, the coming time that's coming, the biggest disrespect and disregard of your liberties and your rights than you have ever seen in America before. It's about to happen. Because they want to lock it back down. It's getting too out of control in America, having nothing to do with ISIS. That's a fact. These counties and states are starting to say, fuck Obama, we're going to do whatever the hell we want to do. fuck the office of president. See, they're going this far now, and they are a real threat because they have the guns and weapons that they gave them. They have budgets, corporate budgets, and the white devil, the white greed is not limited. Each and every individual has the desire for the big devil in them. They work with the big devil because they know they derive power from it. The big devil, states imperialism in and of itself. But each one of them goes to sleep every night with the desire in their heart to ultimately one day become the big devil, like Clyde Bundy. He want to be the big devil, but they don't want to be under nobody. They want to be the whitest of the white supremacists. They want to be the head white supremacists. Each one of them, their desire will stop at nothing. They don't want to be indicted, governors locked up, mayors arrested. They want all of the power. Look at your cracker in Canada that was smoking cocaine. The Prime Minister, I can't think of his name. Damn cracker, let's just call him Cracker John. Look at him. After him getting caught using cocaine and in corruption, he still said he has a desire to be the president, to be the head prime minister, to be the head guy, because he was just a mayor or something like that. He wants to be the head person even after getting caught with crack. Look how arrogant these goddamn devils is. And now their arrogance is fighting each other. Satan is beginning to cast out Satan. We must get out of the way. Let them destroy one another, because that's what's about to happen. Obama's not worried about no goddamn ISIS when there's no America to be terrorized. It's all splintered. Different white supremacist native reservations. Each state has become a white supremacist reservation where they reserve the power to make the decision to do what the fuck they want to do. And they're building that power and that momentum. Let me open up the phone lines. It's a deception. ISIS is not real. It is a technology tool of Obama administration in order to wreak fear on the people so they can manifest martial law and receive power over a collapsed matrix in America. America is just not the same. When the Bureau of Land Management had to turn around on Clyde Bundy, they just don't have the power that they used to. Social media has made these weaker white supremacists even more powerful, more organized. They have more resources. Their ideals are clear. Their goals and objectives are more clear. This is not the same America anymore. Now they're in fear, total fear, of an unavoidable annihilation. And now they're like Gaddafi. They're like leaders, Mubarak, who want to fight by any means necessary to maintain power.
That kind of ties things up, doesn't it?